racing dance routines in front of, above, and all around you. For tickets, visit SaharaLasVegas.com/NNL. Thank you for calling Sahara Las Vegas. Your call will be attended to.
I thought, like I said, our regulars might.
Did I even ask you this? You're running the show?
I have notes, yes.
Sweet.
And then you
I do have some. I got a quote or two out of the Go Giver book that I read yesterday. So
Perfect. Yeah, 4 of our people were coming here, so they might be traveling at this time. We couldn't even figure out. It was funny. It was on Collaborate Live last week. They're like, "What time is it Vegas time?" I'm like, I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. JJ, can you hear us?
Yep. Hey guys.
What's your name? It's not JJ, or is it JJ?
Oh, no, yeah, my name's Brian. I just signed up with you guys for your SEO services. I have a window cleaning company and Christmas lighting company. So we onboarded about a month ago. So
Oh, nice.
Saw your guys' email come through and I'm actually available. So it was awesome.
That's cool. Yeah, I know a lot of people are network or Angel's out in Vegas, and a lot of them are in Vegas at a show. So we might just be us today. We'll have to figure that out. So
I'm here to learn. So
yeah, what's the name of your business, Brian?
Reflections, window cleaning, and Christmas lighting.
Oh, okay, nice. All right, I love it. Well, anyway, this is Angela. Angela does a good job at running Collaborate Live. We got Mike coming in. That's good. Here we go. We got some stragglers. How long you been in the business, Brian?
15 years. And
Nice.
yeah, I just reached out to Brandon Vaughn and Latimer. I'm in the Conquer program and I was like, all right, who's the SEO guy? And before I hired anyone, I just typed in window cleaning in Minnesota and then zoomed out and see who popped up first.
Mhm.
And so they said, hey, work with Collaborative. And so I called you guys and I had the on phone sales pitch. They're going through everything. And I was like, hey, is one of your clients this person? And they're like, yes, it is. And I was like, well, that's the first one who pops up in Minnesota. So you seem like the company to go with. So
Oh, nice.
that was pretty cool.
Good. Did a little bit of research. I take
Yeah.
a little bit of pride. If you search window cleaning SEO or window cleaners SEO or like window cleaning marketing, like Collaborate shows up #1 for all those search terms. So it's kind of fun.
Sweet.
But it's funny how it works, right? Like I have so much passion to help you guys. Like I don't really do anything for myself.
Oh, sure. Sure.
Always like I want to do stuff for everybody else. But
Sure.
is that Tiki who's on? I see it says Mike, but that's probably Tiki who's on. Is that right?
Actually, Mike and Tiki.
Hey guys, nice to see
Hello.
you guys. Do you guys like this time better than the other time we were doing Tiki? Does it work better? Or
Not really.
not really?
Mike usually is working, but
Yeah, I get it's in the middle of the day. It's kind of hard to do evenings too because like my kids have sports and like I want to do stuff with the family on a Wednesday night. So we got some feedback when Angela and I were in Nashville, and people were like, "Man, if you do it in the middle of the day, more people will show up." So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Before we get into it, though, next week on this episode, I'll give you guys a sneak peek. We've got a huge announcement. See Angela's smile? She's super excited about it. I actually have any of you guys read this book, The Go Giver?
No.
This book. I didn't officially read it, but I listened to it because I had to travel a little bit yesterday. But I read part of it and listened to it. But it's kind of funny. Like it says in the book, your true worth is determined by how much you give in value rather than how much you take in a payment. And that's kind of that's really the essence of how I want Collaborate to be. I want more value than what we would ever charge our customers or clients. And this fits in perfectly with what we're talking about today, right, Angela? So
Yes.
yeah, next week, I'm going to try to call everybody. So you could expect a call from me, Brian. You could expect Tiki, I'm on the phone with you tomorrow. So I may as well just tell you tomorrow what's going on. But we do have a really big announcement next week. We're super excited about it, and it should be a lot of fun. So anyway, that being said, let's get into it. You got a question, Mike?
Yeah, is that book Go Giver? Is that related to a book called Go Getter?
I don't
You know?
think so.
No. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think so. The Go. It's a pretty quick read or
Okay.
listen. I think an audiobook, I think it was like 3 hours, but I mean, I read through probably half of it pretty fast. So I didn't even realize I was like halfway through it. So it does talk about like principles of like, if you really want to receive more in life, just start giving, right? And you have a hard time giving if you're not actually receiving too, because if you're going to give something, somebody on the other end has to receive it, right? So you have to be able to receive something that somebody's trying to help you with, or somebody's trying to do something for you. And in the book, the guy gave an example, like he really wanted to land this huge customer and he just didn't have the tools to do it. He just didn't quite have the systems and stuff. And his mentor that he started meeting with is like, dude, like, just give free advice and give stuff away. And he pulled out his competitor's card and he told the guy, he's like, well, maybe you should call my competitor. He might be able to suit you better than I can. Sorry, I couldn't do it. And he was like, oh my gosh, that was the hardest thing I ever did. Right. But it came back to him. So anyway, it's just kind of going off on a tangent, but great book. Really, really good book. All right. So we're going to talk about the customer experience, right, Angela?
We are.
All right. We got somebody else coming in. I'll let them in. Angela's in Vegas, so if she's a little off her game today, that might be why, right?
I just got here though, so I haven't, done any of the Vegas activities yet, but if I look like I'm a little off my game in this like chair and setup, it's always interesting traveling with all of the camera setup. So yeah, those of you that were on last week knew several of us were talking about Clipicon. So a lot of the people that are our regulars that are on are probably in travel mode in here because we were all trying to figure out what time this would be at Vegas time. So we're going to talk about remarkable client experience today, which is one of my favorite topics. So I'm going to present on some life cycles of the client, and then we'll kind of all chime in. So a lot of this is based on the book, Never Lose a Customer Again by Joey Coleman. And it is a phenomenal book. I listen to most books, like Dave said that he listened. So I listened on Audible, but I also have the physical copy of the book. And I've talked about this before, that many of the books that I refer to, if you aren't a reader and want to get through all of the things, although this has phenomenal stories in it and is a great read, you can digest the key points of books on an app called Blinkist. So it's like Blinkist. I'll post it in the Facebook group again as well. But you can get through all the main points of a book pretty quickly. If somebody's like, you have to read this book, you can go get a summary of each of the chapters and different things. And that's your little tip for the day. So remarkable client experience is how are we really going above and beyond, as Dave said, and giving to our clients. A lot of times we focus on, as we focus on the different parts of the client experience, it starts with acquisition, right? With sales. And a lot of times we have so much focus on getting new clients and what that experience looks like, that there is a big drop off right after sales. So we're giving them all this love. They relate it in this and another book, like in a relationship, like when you're dating someone, to like love bombing, right? When you're, really trying to get the girl or the guy, really trying to get the sale. So the customer feels like they have so much of your attention, right? And just lots of love and good feelings and attention from you. And then, so they're in the anticipation phase of like, oh, I can't wait. And I'm loving all this attention. And then all of the sudden, they become clients and go into the second form of onboarding, second phase of client. So, hey, now they've made that decision. They're in the pre-decision. We're romancing them. And then they are in the decision, have made that decision, made the big decision, wrote the check. And then all of the sudden, sometimes we disappear for a second, right? Then there's a lot of times we don't really have that onboarding cycle so mapped out that
So
that
can I
customer.
interrupt real quick? So like in the
Yeah.
service industry, that would be like, I cleaned their carpets or I cleaned their windows. They wrote me a check. I left and then they called back and were like, dude, you forgot an entire room, or you didn't move my couch back, or, you know, you forgot some windows. And then like, it takes us 5 days to get back to them, right? That's kind of the same scenario, right?
Yeah, yes. Or even pre that would be in the, maybe the next phase that they're actually getting what they purchased.
Okay.
So, but in the onboarding, they're like, what happens? What now? What? I've signed up to get my windows cleaned, or I've signed up to get my carpets cleaned, or my lights on. Now what's going to happen? And I don't know if it's in this book because it's not in the review of this book, but there's a great example of this. Again, funny to a relationship, that we often have the salesperson, and maybe you as owners are selling. So you've gotten the sale, they fall in love with you, and then you pass them off to someone else, like somebody else is doing the work and they might never speak to you again. And they relate the example to, as you are dating somebody, you get to the altar and marry them, and then at the hotel room, you pass them off to a stranger.
That would be really odd.
With absolutely no introduction. And sometimes in our businesses, that's the way it can be, right? You were in the relationship selling the client, and then all of a sudden strangers are coming to their house and they've never been guided through what that process is going to look like in the sales process. That like, okay, I'm here for you now. And now here is Chris, and Chris is going to take amazing care of you. He's going to be the one that is coming to your house. If you have any problems, this is who you'll be talking to next. So really educating the client in the sales process, not fake love bombing, sneaking them out that they're going to get something else that they didn't, setting up full expectations of what the onboarding process will look like, setting them up, and then what their first client experience will be. So this is a lot of telling. I've talked to you guys before about like the Disney World videos that I love to do at different phases. And this is where that can happen. If you've already sold a client, that they can get a video before that first service happens, before you come and clean the windows or put the Christmas lights on, and let them know. And they're getting a video from you or from the salesperson passing off and letting them know what to expect. If you tell a client what they're supposed to feel, it's more likely that they're going to feel that. So it's kind of a psychology thing, but that's one of the purposes of the Disney World video, not only actually walking them through the process.
Well, I mean, you want to tell them that and then do your darn best to.
Yes, to deliver.
Yeah.
To deliver.
Yeah.
But if they are looking for the best and you're setting them up to look for the good things, then they're looking for the good in things instead of having the buyer's remorse. So unless we take the care in onboarding to tell the clients that they should expect great results, their brain has often switched into buyer's remorse. And they've written the check and they're like, why did I pay to get my windows cleaned? I just could have done that myself, right?
Yeah.
So they automatically have this negative feeling of spending money without the reward over there. So you kind of give them the pre-reward.
Or I'm going to get my windows cleaned and there's rain in the forecast. You know, a lot of times in our customer service, we explain to the customer, you don't drive your house down the street like your car. Like you can clean your windows and literally it can rain a few times and your windows still look pretty darn good. In Arizona, at least, we're like, hey, we'll give you a 1 week rain guarantee. We'll come back and touch up the ones that get messed up. So that's all part of the communication, right? Before they ever get buyer's remorse or even get remorse for signing up.
Yeah, exactly. That education piece. So he goes through, and this is a statistic of how many people are lost. Between 20 and 70% of customers will be lost within 3 months of a client acquiring them if they fail at that stage, if they fail the buyer's remorse stage. 20 to 70% of customers will be lost in the first 3
That's a
months.
lot.
So really paying attention to that. That's one of the biggest places that businesses fail at remarkable client experiences is after the sale experience. And it's referred to as that you passed him off. You married him and then you passed him off to somebody else. And the marriage looked a lot different than the wedding.
Yeah.
And that just goes on. They talk a lot about that, of overemphasizing sales and underemphasizing customer retention. And so then now we're in the phase that we have, and you guys, we always post workbooks. I posted the wrong one last week, so then you got 2 workbooks. But I'll post a little chart and workbook about this. So I might not call all the stages the right thing, but there are like 7 stages of a client. And the workbook will have all those stages. So after onboarding, then they've went through their first experience and what that looks like. And how are you handling them through each and every phase of that? So now they've done onboarding, now they've gotten their first service. What does it look like after their first service? Are we making sure that they're happy? Are we evaluating what their experience is so that we know if we need to that we're on the same page of communication, or if anything else needs to be done with that client. And then many companies don't have a good idea of what customer experience looks like in their company. Like, we think we're nice, we think we're doing a great job, right? We think customer experience is just providing and giving the best thing. Like, we did the best job, we did not make any mistakes, every window was perfectly clean, every light was perfectly hung. Like, that's remarkable client experience, that they got exactly what they paid for and 100%. But taking time to talk to your top customers and people that you've really developed a relationship with, and asking them what a good client experience looks like to them. Because sometimes you don't know on the other side. And they were wanting like something, some little extra, some little communication. And because they didn't get that, that's the one thing they hung on to. And so you might think we did a 10 out of 10 in service. Every single thing was right for that customer. And they only would have rated you a 5 because some little thing was missing that maybe had nothing to do with their windows or their lights or their carpets.
Yeah. I know, like when I was out in the field a lot cleaning windows, I would do mirrors for free for customers, like all the time. I would just offer it. I wouldn't ask for payment. I'd be like, it's easy for me to do your mirrors. I'll just clean them all for you in your bathrooms and your sliding glass, bedrooms, stuff like that. Like that, I'm sure, and you hear it from customers also, like, wow, that's amazing. Guess what? They're not going to call the next guy next time. They're like, wow, that guy really did a good job. And I didn't even expect my mirrors to be clean, but they got clean, right? So like you just said, you may think you knocked it out of the park and I did 100% of the windows, but do a little bit extra. It kind of goes back to that point that I said at the beginning of this, right? If it's not, your worth isn't determined by how much you give in value. I get that wrong. Your true worth is determined by how much you give rather than what you take in payment. So like if you give a little extra this or a little extra that, then the customer's wowed, right?
Exactly. Then they're wowed. Then they think it's remarkable. So there, all the different phases, and some of them are in that pre-client and then the onboarding, and then they've gotten this service. And then how do we turn them into really happy customers? How do we turn them into raving fans that they can't stop talking about? They're like, wow, you have to have the person that cleans my windows because they're so amazing. Like, what is the difference in that? And good timed communication and incentives, I'll talk about the different layers of that, are the biggest difference for customers. It isn't usually even the extra mile of service at the moment. It's these different layers of touch points and communication. And again, not to keep referring to the wedding thing, but if you put it in your mind like that these are clients and they are relationship driven. So how can you build that relationship that people do business with people who they know, like, and trust? And how can you really solidify that relationship bond so that your clients are a raving fan and feel like they have a relationship with you, not just that they love your service? Because somebody else can provide the same remarkable service or comparable, right? Somebody else can go over the top and clean their windows just as well. The difference in you is that relationship. So it goes through, and again, these will be in the chart, but the different forms of communication and the different layers that you can do at the different levels of the customer cycle. So a phone call. So calling them before they're coming, letting them know what to expect.
Or those automated text messages that generate on my ways. Those are fantastic, right?
Yes.
I mean,
So-
everybody who's on here, if you're not using a CRM to do your scheduling, like, you're really missing out. The communication with those is fantastic that you don't even have to worry about it. It's fantastic.
So that, yes, and those provide like an automated layer.
Yep.
So first is phone call of that layer of conversation, that this one's not necessarily automated, that somebody's talking to them, somebody's asking them questions. And this can be before or after. It's when do you use these at every phase of the cycle of, did you check up with them? Did you understand and listen? What did they think of their service? Maybe now they've been a client for a year. Now you're getting more of their feedback of like, hey, you're a good client and have been here for a year. What has made you stay? Are there things that we're missing? So phone call. Texting is a newer one, so it wasn't as big as using it. I'm not sure it's one of the things in this book even. Email, we all get a ton of emails, but can we provide a touch point that's an email that's something that they don't expect? Maybe we are giving them a survey in an email or providing a layer of education that is a touch point to them. Physical mail, and this one is something that we don't all use as much, so it can be a layer of surprise at a different acquisition of the customer. Maybe they've been a customer for a year and we have a program and an automated system that when someone has been a customer for a year, they get a handwritten thank you card. It's like, thank you so much for being part of the Collaborate family. We appreciate you and we're glad you're here. Making them feel part of the tribe.
Yeah. So everybody knows we have a lot of customer remarkable client experience work to do on Collaborate, and I'm excited to take some notes and learn.
We're working on it. We're just launching. We talked a lot about this last week of the layers of stuff that was coming with Collaborate. Then okay, now I missed call, email,
Said mail. Yep.
snail mail, and then in person. So when is it appropriate that someone talks to them in person? And this might be part of the system, that it is the person that is doing their service that maybe knocks on the door after so many services and just is like, hey, just wanted to check in and see how you were doing. Or they're a huge commercial client and you're making an effort every so often to see them in person, to maybe go golfing with them or take them out to dinner, or do something in person.
Which is why I canceled my trip to Vegas, because I have a meeting on Friday. Ugh. But yes, it's an in-person meeting, right?
Yes, because those things are important. Being eyeball to eyeball builds quality relationships more. So if you're looking for those high level relationships, when are you making the investment in person? And then gift is the last one. I mean, we put text message kind of with calling. I think that's the last one. So when is a gift appropriate? And it doesn't have to be a big gift, but is there something? Do you have some little swag that gets mailed to them or gets dropped off as a thank you after so long of service, or after they've referred so many people, or some incentive that is a gift? And so it's great. And this is what we'll put in there, is a chart. Oh, that's a good question that we can discuss. What swag have we used over the years? But it's a chart of every phase of the customer experience, from them making the decision, affirming the decision, acquisition, the onboarding, being a client, loyalty, a loyal client, they've been with you, turning into raving fan. All the phases of the client cycle is on one side, and then the layers of how you do it are on the other side, so that you're thinking at every layer. Okay, now someone's been a client for 3 months. Is it going to be a phone call? Is it going to be an email? Is it going to be a text message, in person, gift, something in the mail? What are we doing at this stage? So that now you can make this entire thing a process to make sure that you're creating raving fans.
Yeah, that was a good question that Brian asked. I just saw the other day, I don't know if anybody of you guys knows Ryan from 180 Sites, but he signed somebody up and they posted on Facebook. We love 180 Sites. He sent them like brownies in the mail or cookies. I'm not sure. I think it was brownies, but like just sent brownies in the mail, right? That's a really cool gift. What other gifts you could do? Obviously, gift cards, right? But what are your thoughts, Angela?
Yeah, those little baked things are great. We were just at, when we were in Fort Lauderdale, right across from us was Dope Marketing. And they will send cookies for you.
We gave out a bunch of
as
these
a
little
marketing
fans.
tool.
It doesn't work. I can't turn it on. I think my kids were playing with it, but it's cool.
Oh,
It lights
no.
up. It says Collaborate Pros, right? This is a little gift that we gave away. We must have given 100 of these away, right? They're probably sitting on people's desks right now.
If you have it depends on the layer of like how much you want to spend, like how much is that client worth to you, right? And there's obviously a huge difference between commercial clients that you're really wanting to keep and the value of that client, and then the residential clients. And then what is the gift for? What is the, like, I think it's a great idea to have referral gifts or referral bonuses that they might be getting cash, but maybe they get a gift too. Each time they refer a client or when they've referred so many clients, because that is a huge thing, right? And you want them to keep doing that behavior. So you might have several layers of, if somebody refers a client, you want to love bomb them again with the call, thank them, like an actual voice-to-voice call, let them know how much it means, that referral. And then that gift might be a little more than a client that's been with you for 3 months, that they're getting something with your name on it to remember you. Another great thing is if you're doing the less expensive ones. I mean, I saw somebody put in their koozies. I like things that are original that somebody else hasn't done, that you look at, even like that fan, that is useful, but you look at and you're like, that's cool.
Somebody sent me a flask one time. We spent more money than most vendors and they sent me a flask and I'm like, I'm not a big drinker. Okay. I don't know. I always think like if you send something that would be, cross-gender, whether it's a female or a male, kids can kind of use it, adults or whatever. Like if you sent me chocolates, I'm not going to eat it because I don't like chocolate. However, I give it to my wife and she'd be like, yeah, sweet. Right. So I don't know. Same with like cookies or something, but.
I love things that are purposeful with your name on them. And then if the cost is okay, then giving 2 or 3 of them that they can hand them out to their friends, because then you're getting your name out there as well. Now, if it's a little bigger gift, like I said, these are like higher end residential clients and you really like them and maybe you're doing Christmas gifts, then I like things that they use and that they'll see over and over. Some of my favorite swag things I've gotten is a cutting board. It's a small, more like a cheese cutting board, but it's a cheese cutting board and knife. And the company's name is just very classy, done, engraved in the cutting board and engraved in the knife. But it was a really good gift because I use it all the time, almost every day. And so I think of them in a positive manner. Like I really like it. It's quality. I use it in my kitchen almost every day. So I mean, think how many times I'm having positively reinforced thoughts about that company.
You're right, because I bought a house last year and the realtor, who's my sister, gave me a cutting board and it was in the shape of Arizona. And I don't know, it said something on it, their Anderson team. I joked, I'm like, dude, where's my chainsaw from Home Depot? Like, why do I get something from the kitchen that I'm not going to use? But still, like you see it all the time, like bust out the cutting board and there it is. That's, that is a fantastic way to, keep your company on top of your customer's mind, right?
And a screwdriver, it's a little more of a, if you think cutting and closer to the chainsaw, but men and women.
Like the drink?
No, a screwdriver. Just a really good one that's the multi-tool,
Oh, I see. Yeah,
you can
yeah.
change out the heads, but like a really quality magnetic screwdriver that's well branded. People are gonna use that over and over in their house. You can never have too many of those.
True. Very true. Yeah, because I'm
The
bad.
measuring
I keep
tape.
I keep a screwdriver upstairs. I keep a screwdriver over there. I keep one in that garage. I keep one in my truck. Yeah, you're right. I can't have enough screwdrivers. You're totally right on that, right?
So I love that as a gift.
Cool.
Anybody else have any ideas? This is a good
Yeah,
chime in.
I'd like to hear other people talk. Somebody got an idea? Nobody? All right. Maybe we gave all the good ideas. There
No one
Well,
has the best swag they've never gotten.
we go. Mike's saying something.
as a carpet cleaner, we offer to give dogs for Christmas.
Dogs?
Yeah, it's job security.
Yes, it is.
That's awesome. Can you put your logo in the dog? Like
Yeah.
brand your phone number, like put a little brand.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. That's great.
We also give out spot cleaner with our name on it so that people can clean their
Oh.
own spots and that sort of thing.
That's really good.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a great idea.
So it's just a little bottle. It's got your logo on it, and you hand it to them, huh?
Yeah, that's correct.
I've given like the little blue rags to some customers who have like dogs, because the dogs always stick their nose on customers' windows, and it's just. But I never had my logo on it. That would be nice if the logo was on it. So it's that is a good idea. It's a really good idea.
Anybody else? Or any questions about the client cycle or feedback or anything on what we talked about?
So that was number 3, communication, right?
Yes, so that's really the gist of the book, is those two things, the all paying attention to every phase of the client experience, that they are all different. And one is that most of us drop the ball. The most common place to really drop the ball with a client is between sales and onboarding. And that's why I went through all the funny examples about that and spent so long on that. But it's at every stage of the cycle. Like you don't want to get lazy with a client. You think we get to the point where, oh, they've been with us a year, they're just going to be with us forever, instead of how can we make sure they're happy? How can we take them from that loyalty phase to the raving fan phase? So really paying attention to all the aspects of the client cycle. And then how are you using those forms of communication in each and every one, and not ignoring that?
Yeah, and then like if you get the customer all the way to the end, then they're the raving fans. And when you get somebody you trust or somebody in your circles, like, oh man, I use this window cleaner, I use this carpet cleaner every time, hands down, they're the best. Man, they're not going to go search for somebody. They're just going to call who their friend or their family recommended. So that's the easiest form, cheapest form of advertising, right? If you can get that customer to that point of your trust level.
Yes. So it's not only the retention and our clients being happy, and when our clients are happy, it's easier to raise price. Everything else in our business is going well, right? When we have loyal clients that we know are really happy and we have taken care of, and we're checking in on them, and we have all these systems and processes that we're following up with them in all these different matters, then when we have to do something like raise prices, that's not the only time we communicated with them. And they're happy to stay with us.
Well, and then plus they'll cut you a little bit of slack too. Like if they know you're nice, you communicate well, you come in, you got friendly staff, and something goes wrong, to be like, usually every time this is great, but this one time something happened, they're not going to write you a really bad review. They're going to realize you're approachable and come talk to you, and then you'll fix the problem. So that's kind of circumventing them going and writing a 1-star review and saying how bad you are, right?
Absolutely.
Cool.
Anybody? You guys are quiet today.
No, nobody's saying anything. Well, Mike and Tiki are a little bit. Brian.
So
keeps-
one
good
of
work.
the things that I took a class, so it's called Strategies for Success a couple of years ago, and when they talked about resolving your client's issues, that you can turn a client that is unhappy with a particular item, and because you corrected the situation or fixed the situation, they become cheerleaders for you.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of relationship, then they're telling everybody else, hey, yeah, there was a spot that came back, but they corrected the issue. And oh my gosh, everything from the phone call to even them coming back to fix a pet urine issue that wasn't their fault.
Yeah.
They came and corrected it, and then they became cheerleaders where they were irritated because they had a spot left.
Yeah, that's true. And it's funny. It reminds me, Mike, is a lot of times when we do onboarding, even with customers and collaborate, we tell them, you know what, not every single time we're going to get it right. Like we might do a blog post. We have a customer in Minnesota that we did a blog post talking about New York City. And we're like, whoops, that happens. I try to tell people like the expectations. If this happens, shoot us an email and you'll join the Whoops Club. And we got a couple customers in the Whoops Club and it happens. But like it's funny, like we've had one or two customers that get super irate or mad about it. And it's like, we are human and we really try to not make that error. But it happens. So
Absolutely. So many times when I just read this part of it, like I was saying, that a lot of it isn't about the service. There's examples in the book of like going to the dentist. I mean, a lot of people don't like to go to the dentist, right? And so usually people's raving experience about a dentist has nothing to do with their experience in the chair. And it was all to do, most of it to do, or nothing to do with the dentist. Most of the experience is how their bill was handled, how setting their appointment was handled, how easy all of that was. And then the person getting them in the chair. So just knowing that like all these layers of communication do make a difference, and we don't think about them because we're just so often trying to get the service part right and thinking that that's all it. And so just think about, really be conscious of all of these layers of making your customers as a person feel valued and important as a person.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're a dentist, you shouldn't have the tagline, no pain, no gain, right? I know my dentist, he was doing something one time and I mentioned something about pain. He goes, oh, that word's never mentioned here. Like, so he gets it. Like, you don't want to associate pain with your dentist, but yeah, you're right. Because if you talk about customer service and how friendly they are, I know when I go to my dentist, I'm like, I feel like they're all my friends. I've had the same dentist forever. I'd never think about switching dentists. I've even moved, and there's probably dentists closer, but I don't really care, right? All right. Well, do we have any more to go over? Or that's the day.
That's my lesson.
All right. Well, next week, guys, everybody who's on, make sure we show up next week. We got a really, really big announcement next week. I'll be calling you guys and talking to everybody individually, but it's kind of goes along with this client experience. We're going to really try to make collaborate live. Angela gets super excited about it, but we got we get some really cool stuff planned. And we're super excited to share it with you guys. So it's gonna take a little bit of involvement on your guys' end, but it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna show some competitiveness, some camaraderie, some I don't know, just getting together and having some fun together. So it'll be great. Any thoughts or questions before we go, guys?
I thought those were all great points about, having a great business and taking care of clients. I think that's a important, aspect that we have to keep as a forefront.
Yeah, well done, Angela. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Yeah, our team was reading that book, and Angela's like, I love this book. Yes.
I do love it because it's just something so simple, like those stages, and it breaks it down and you can easily put it into a process, right? It's not one of those things like, okay, how are we going to do better? It's like, this is exactly how we're going to do better. At this checkpoint, we're going to call them. At this checkpoint, we're going to email them. So it just puts it into a nice process.
And that workbook, we'll stick it up on collaboratepros.com/live. So you'll be able to get that. I've seen that workbook before. It's really excellent. So cool. All right, guys, have a wonderful day. Thanks for taking time in the middle of the day, and enjoy the rest of your Wednesday.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, bye,
Next
guys.
week.